I've coached hundreds of lifters to gain muscle and strength, and in my coaching experience, here are the top 5 reasons you might not be getting any stronger. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm Ben. I'm an online coach and powerlifter, and I've coached hundreds of lifters to gain muscle, build strength, and hit PRs in the gym. I'm a powerlifter myself. My best numbers are a 247.5 kilo squat, 160 kilo bench press, and 300 kilo deadlift. I've still got a long way to go, but I've been training for a long time, and I hope the tips in this video can help you to improve your own training and hit some new PRs this year. In my experience, I've identified 5 main reasons that you might not be getting any stronger. Reason number 5 is one of the most common, so make sure you stay to the end of the video, and I think that one's going to help you out a lot. Before we get started, I want to give you a really basic rundown of how we actually get stronger in the gym. It won't take any longer than 30 seconds, and I promise it will completely change the way that you view your training. So every time we train, we generate some kind of fitness. We also generate some kind of fatigue. So you do a training session, let's say we get this much fitness and we get this much fatigue. Over time, if you want to actually get stronger, it's really important that we keep the fitness we gain higher than the fatigue that you generate, okay? So if you train super hard, you train everything to failure, every session is really, really difficult, you end up with fitness being here, fatigue is much higher, and you can't actually demonstrate any of the strength you're building. That's why most people in most gyms end up not really gaining any strength because they train far too hard and they end up with too much fatigue that they can't recover from. So really basic, over time, all we need is for fitness to be up here, fatigue to be trailing behind so that we can demonstrate the strength gains we're actually building. And I'm going to explain in this video how we do that, along with some other tips to help you get stronger. With that in mind, you can probably see why we don't want to train as hard as possible every single training session. We need to be able to recover from the training so that you can actually get stronger. So that brings me nicely onto reason number 1 why you might not be getting stronger. And that is too much training to failure or too many hard sets where you're grinding really, really hard reps. So most people, they think that harder training equals better training. So you go in the gym, you train as hard as you possibly can, and you hit failure every single set. You do that 5x5, where on the last rep of each set, you really grind the reps, really slow, really difficult reps. You come in next week and you can't add any weight to the bar. You've always got aches and pains, your back's killing you, your knees are hurting. And the reason why is because you're generating way too much fatigue. So you end up with this really high stimulus, but then fatigue is all the way up here, and you can't actually show the progress you're making. So what should we do instead? Instead of pushing hard every single session, consider leaving a few reps in the tank, doing your volume work at lower percentages than you're used to. So an easy example, instead of doing a 5x5 at a flat weight, work yourself up to a top set of 1 to 3 reps, and that top set should get increasingly more difficult as you work through the training weeks. So maybe on week 1, you're leaving 5 reps in reserve, 4 reps in reserve, 3, 2, 1, and then you kind of repeat this process heavier in the next block. And then when you do your volume work, your back off sets, instead of doing a super hard 5x5 at like 80% of your 1 rep max where you're hitting failure on the last rep of each set, try dialing that down to like 60, 65, 70%. I like 60 to 75% as a nice range for that volume work. And that is going to have you leaving a lot of reps in the tank. You'll be nice and fresh, well recovered, and it means you can train very frequently. You can practice the main lifts a lot through the week, and you can actually recover to demonstrate your strength. And I think you'll see much better results from your training. You'll feel far more recovered with less aches and pains. Apply this to your main lifts like your squat, your bench press, and your deadlift, and then feel free to go and push your accessories really, really hard. So things like cables, dumbbells, machines, the bodybuilding type work, you can push that stuff closer to failure and be just fine. So reason number 2 that you might not be getting stronger is that you are not following a training program, or if you are, you might be following a not very good program. So most of you out there who are watching this either aren't following a program at all, you just go in and kind of freestyle it, or you might be following one of the more common intermediate programs like 5x5, 5-3-1, Texas Method. Now, those programs might be okay if you're a complete beginner and you have no structure to your training, but long term, if you want to get really, really strong, I definitely wouldn't recommend those programs. A lot of them have you training way too hard, way too high intensities. You're not practicing the main lifts frequently enough. The work isn't specific enough. Like 531, for example, you do the main lifts once, maybe twice a week. Then the bodybuilding is a lot of like 4x10, 5x10. I just don't think they're very effective programs. We know that people respond very, very differently when you put them on the same training program. So if you have two different people on the same program, the two of them will respond very, very differently. And this applies to all of us. So if we know that, it's really important that you get on an individualized program that suits your needs and is kind of built around how you respond to training. So don't go out there and just blindly do a template. If you're new to training, that might work. But down the line, I would suggest investing in something individualized. If you hire a coach, or I offer coaching myself, or hire another coach, or look for just a better written program that is suited to your needs. So if you don't have a program, I would start by getting on one first. Feel free to go and get on a free one online. But down the line, once you've been training for a few years, pick up something individualized and you'll be shocked at how quickly you can actually make progress. Reason number 3 why you might not be getting stronger is that your training is not focused enough. You're trying to be good at everything. So you're trying to be super strong, super big, athletic, do tons of cardio, do some plyometric type work. Your training is too scattered and all over the place, focusing on too many elements. You're probably doing 10 to 15 exercises per session, trying to really kill the muscle. Like your chest day might have 10 different exercises where you do flat bench, incline bench, decline bench, dips, chest press, cables, pec deck, all these different things. And it's fun and you might get a good pump, but for long-term results, you're not gonna make much progress because you need to concentrate your training stress on less things rather than being really spread out and you don't actually improve at any of the things that you're training. So my main advice would be, if you're currently training like 6-7 days a week, you're training a bunch of different things, I would recommend that you actually sit down and think about what is important to you, what you actually want to make progress on. Is it the squat, the bench, the deadlift, or do you really enjoy doing like dumbbell presses? So pick the movements you actually want to improve on, pick your main goals, and then go and attack those and really concentrate your training stress onto those things. So if it does happen to be the squat, bench, and deadlift that you really enjoy, focus your efforts in on those. Center each training session around kind of practicing those main lifts, so make sure that you're doing them frequently enough. So I would recommend you squat once or twice a week, mostly twice, bench press 2 to 4 times a week, and deadlift once or twice a week as well. So concentrate your training stress down, cut out some of the fluff and just the pump work, and you will see that your results will be far more targeted towards your goals and a lot more efficient. You're also likely changing your training too much. So once you find a setup that works and it's moving you towards your goals, don't just change things for the sake of it. Just keep running that block over and over and over again. That's how you get better long term. So really concentrate the training stress down and then run the same setup for a long time and try to avoid changing things too frequently. Reason number 4 why you might not be getting stronger is that your technique is not very good, particularly on the main lifts, so things like squats, bench press, deadlifts, and then kind of dumbbell work and stuff like that. Oftentimes I see that people, they really haven't spent the time to kind of build that technique. They've added up a bunch of weight, and we all see that guy who's like doing quarter squats with 4 plates on the bar. But spend that time first, really getting your technique to a place that is good, it's repeatable, it looks the same each week, it's pretty efficient. So I recommend spending some time on YouTube, have a look at some tutorials, have a look at lifters that you look up to and you admire and kind of try to see what they're doing with their technique. Get your technique to a place where it's pretty repeatable week to week, then start adding weight to the bar. Once you feel like your technique is in a good place, I recommend that you open up a notes page on your iPhone and just write down step by step how you actually do your setup. So for myself with the squat, I literally write down like place my feet here, place my grip here, unrack the bar, take 2 steps back, just so that if I ever have one of those days where my technique feels really rusty and I forgot how to lift, I can just go back to the notes page, look through the steps and just refresh it in my mind. So before anything else, get your technique to a place where it's repeatable, it's efficient, and it looks similar week to week, then start adding weight to the bar. Try not to do it the other way around where you just load up a bunch of weight and your technique just falls apart. Reason number 5, and the final reason why you might not be getting stronger, and this is probably one of the most common reasons I see, is that you are not gaining weight, or you keep going back and forth between cutting, bulking, maintenance, and you just keep spinning your wheels. I see this all the time where newer lifters or intermediates, they will finally start to gain a bit of weight, they'll start to get stronger, and then they notice that their abs are disappearing, and quickly they run to go and do a cut, lose all the strength they've built, and then they start over again, and they end up just back and forth between cutting, bulking, cutting, bulking. They never actually gain any muscle, they don't look lean when they cut because they don't have enough muscle, and their lifts never really go up. And I did this for years, so I started out around 60 kilos when I started lifting, so I would bulk up to like 70 kilos, cut back down, bulk, cut, and I just looked the same every year and never really got any better. So I would recommend that first, if you're not carrying too much body fat, if your waist is like below 37 inches for males, spend some time really bulking. So commit to gaining weight for 6 to 12 months, really put in some work to pack on some quality muscle, gain a lot of strength in your lifts. Then you can think about cutting. But even then, I would recommend that you sit at maintenance, to be honest, so that you can continue gaining strength and muscle. But my main advice is you need to gain weight and you need to build muscle long term to improve how you look and to gain strength. The main thing that we can kind of influence long term to actually improve in the gym is gaining more muscle mass. It makes us look better, it improves our health, we're able to lift more weight. So really commit to a cut or a bulk. Try to avoid fluctuating back and forth between the two every other month, and you'll see your results drastically improve. So based on those 5 reasons, here is exactly what I would recommend if you're not happy with the results you're seeing in the gym. You want to get bigger, stronger immediately. So first things first, you need to get on a good training program. So ditch those 5x5s, 5-3-1 and stuff like that. Unless this is your first year lifting, ditch those, get on something better. If you'd like to work with a coach and you feel like you resonate with some of the things that I'm saying in my videos, then you can drop a comment on this video or go to evidencebasedstrength.com and I can jump on a call with you to discuss coaching. Second thing I would do is actually structure yourself with training blocks. So if you're on a good program, that will be handled automatically, but rather than just trying to train super, super heavy every time you step in the gym, have a training block of like 4 to 6 weeks where you start light on the block and you gradually work your way up heavier, 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 and then you come back down, start light again, work your way back up, and over time you should end up heavier each time with these training blocks. Have a bit of structure and planning to your training rather than just going in and freestyling. I would also recommend that you cut your training down and you really kind of focus in on what you care about. Cut out that fluff, and you don't need to train 7 days a week and try and do everything in the gym. Really think about what you care about and then cut the training down to reflect that. Study lifting technique a little bit, so watch your favorite lifters, watch some YouTube videos, and get your technique to a place where it's efficient and it's repeatable week to week and it looks pretty similar. Then for your nutrition, commit to a cut or a bulk. Try to avoid kind of going back and forth between the two every other month. Write yourself a meal schedule, get yourself some macro targets, and really commit to the process of gaining some muscle. Hopefully you took some value from these 5 tips. I hope that you can go away, take them, and really improve your results from your training. If you need any more help, feel free to drop a comment in the comment section down below. For more content on lifting, strength training, nutrition, you can follow me on Instagram. I've got a link in the caption. I've also got a website at evidencebasedstrength.com if you'd like to have a look there. You can even book a free call with me to discuss your training. And yeah, besides that, I will see you all next Sunday for my next upload. If you have any recommendations for video topics that you'd like to see, please drop them in the comments down below. And until then, I will catch you all next time. Thanks for watching.